Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Hello, and welcome back to Big Mouth, and you can keep this and any other conversation I ignite going over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad, my Vero at Big Mouth 1, and the extension to this channel, kind of, is my Instagram, BigMouth11289. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of the dceu Daily. Isn't it funny being free to do videos every day now? I love it, and you're going to love it, whether you like it or not. And today's dceu Daily, we are dedicating it to the upcoming Batman movie, The Batman. This movie is going to be written and directed by Matt Reeves, or Matthew Reeves. As soon as I heard his involvement, I was so excited. I loved his two Planet of the Apes movies. I think the man's a genius. And when talks kind of fell down between him and Warner Brothers, I was concerned and I was upset because it was so important that we got him for this movie. Now, why is he so important? With everything that happened with Batman v Superman having a theatrical version and an extended version, the divisiveness with Ben Affleck's announcement, the divisiveness of BVS, a film that I actually love, as you all know, and everything that happened with Justice League, we needed a Batman movie. Now, the history behind the Batman movie is complex, if you like, because this was going to be a movie that was starring, that was written and directed by Ben Affleck. This was going to be a very ambitious project. After the reaction to BVS, after what happened to Justice League, and the issues that Ben's had with his alcoholism, he had to step away. Now, this came in bits and pieces, his exit from this movie, because it started off, he was not going to write and direct it anymore and just star in it, and then that changed, and he wasn't going to be Batman anymore. Now, he said it himself, he said he's not Batman anymore. But is there more to this movie than meets the eye? First of all, the question keeps on coming up. Is The Batman a DCEU movie or not? Commissioner Gordon will be played by, is it Jeffrey Wright, a gentleman of colour, an actor of colour. So because in Justice League we had a white actor playing Commissioner Gordon, you kind of start to think, well, maybe this isn't part of the DCEU. But let's not forget that Tim Burton's Batman franchise had Tommy Lee Jones playing Harvey Two-Face, and of course Harvey Dent. But originally in the first Batman movie, it was an actor of colour, Lando Calrissian himself, Billy D. Williams. So you know, you could just kind of say that they've kind of recast everything, and it's still the DCEU Batman. But how is this going to work? Now, there's things that have been out there as rumours about this movie and things that Matthew Reeves has confirmed himself. Now, rumour is that this film is set in the 90s. That hasn't been confirmed by Matt Reeves, by the way, as far as I know. You can correct me down below if I'm wrong. So we get to the part where, you know, this movie has been in development for a very long time. Matt Reeves took a very long time writing and developing this movie. And as usual, the people with an agenda were trying to say that he was going to quit and that Ben Affleck was going to come back to direct this movie and star in this movie and write in this movie. Wishful thinking. Look, I love Ben's Batman. I do. And there's nothing I would have liked more at the time than to... Because this was ambitious to think. Who's done that before in a comic book movie? To star in it, to write it and direct it. Very ambitious. I think Oscars all round if he did a good job. But it wasn't to be, and that's sad for all of us. But unfortunately, as sad as it is, his loss is Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's gain. So, yes, I think Matt Reeves has been fantastic so far. I actually thought he was one of these shy and retiring people who wasn't going to say much during production, but he's been fantastic. Every time he announces a cast member, or when he announced Michael Giacchino doing the the music. He posts a GIF of them and he announces it. It's brilliant. He's been very humorous. He's been great with the fans. I've seen him answer fan questions on Twitter sometimes as well. So it's great that he's on Twitter. It's great that he's got a good attitude and a good feeling towards the fans. And I think it's important here because there's so many different pockets of fandoms now. There's the Zack Snyder DCEU fans. I'm one of those. There's DC fans. I'm a DC fan as well. There's Batman fans. And I think this needs to be a movie, first and foremost, for the Batman fans. Because after all, it is a Batman movie. It should kind of think of the feelings of the Snyder fans as well, of course. But we just don't know if this film has any continuity with the DCEU. And for me, that's fascinating, interesting, and exciting because nothing can be ruled out. It's looking like this is not part of the DCEU. But as I've said before, they've been recasts in other franchises before. We saw it in the first Iron Man film with Tony Stark's best friend. The name escapes me, right? They changed the actor, didn't they? And so, anything's possible here. This actually could still be part of the DCEU. If it's set in the 90s, it could be, a pre-BVS Affleck Batman. What we don't know, no trailers, but let's be clear here. Not only is Matt Reeves been talking a lot about this movie, Robert Pattinson, and everyone's just willing to talk about this movie. It's a great group of actors. It's a great group of backroom staff. Matt Reeves has really chosen his people well. Now, what do I think about Robert Pattinson playing Bruce Wayne, aka the Batman? Really excited about this casting. A lot of people who don't have a lot of knowledge and, react without thinking, think we're just talking about Robert Pattinson from Twilight. Now, if we were just talking about that, maybe I'd be a little bit sceptical, but I still think he did a good job in those films and proved he's a really good actor. But since that franchise, he's done The Lighthouse, a critically acclaimed movie, great performance. He's done multiple independent movies. This lad has proven that he's a great actor, and we are lucky. He's not lucky to have this. He's got this on skill and ability. We are lucky to have him. We've seen pictures, already on set pictures of him, elite Batman logo. I don't have it on me, but I saw a picture of it. Happy with that. Listen, things like logos and posters, I said to you guys before, I know a lot of you are passionate about things like that, but I'm not. I'm interested in the movie, in the product, in the content. And you can't judge anything. You can judge trailers a little bit, but really it's all about the movie. And I'm so excited about this movie. So I'm going to read a couple of interviews. I've got one here from, what's his name? Mr. Skarsgård. What's his first name? Let's have a look. Yeah, Peter Skarsgård, who's been obviously cast in the Batman, and we don't know who he's playing, has been talking, and he said some really, really interesting stuff. And this is a Collider article, and I'm going to read out the quote from Peter. The cast is so awesome. It seems different from the other Batman movies to me, just with the cast. There's something about it that has an edge. Ooh, I like that. It's young to me, just my perception of it. It reminds me of when I was in college and I went to go see the Pixies play. And I'm looking around and feeling the vibe at a Pixies concert. That's what it felt like to me. A song like I Bleed, it has the energy of that sort of thing. And it isn't so specifically targeted to a very young audience or a very old audience. But that has that power of chaos in it. Now, this is interesting. Now, he's saying he's talking from his own point of view and perspective. He's saying he doesn't know very much. He knows. He wouldn't have agreed if he hadn't read a script and he doesn't know. So it's very interesting what he's saying. Of course, they want to plug the movie. They want to sell the movie to us. This is how movie marketing works. Even before a shot's filmed or even while they're filming, they're teasing us and they're talking to us. And that's part of the excitement of modern day movie marketing. Now, Collider kind of try and explain the kind of Pixies analogy that Peter made. Now, if you're a fan of the Pixies, as I am, you are already buzzing with excitement at this unique comparison. If you're not, I'll try and explain the appeal. Pixies tunes tend tend to live on the intersection between raw punk energy and highly crafted music and shit. Their songs alternate between quieter, more melodic verses before crescending into loud, rapturous shout-along choruses. I Bleed, in particular, has a tension-building verse with borderline spoken lyrics until the chorus explodes with the overdriven guitars and screamed vocals. Can you imagine these kind of dynamics playing within a Batman film? I get chills just thinking about it. Skarsgård went on to explain that he viewed as the key comparison between the Batman and the Pixies emotion. Interesting. The Pixies were my favourite group of all time. I went to like 20 concerts, and it was that feeling of all of us in this. And it's a very emotional, the Pixies were an incredibly emotional band. And I think this Batman is very emotional in that way. I think it will be a powerful emotion-driven Batman film. Wow. Is exactly what we all need. And I, for one, can't wait to see Batman deal with all the debasers in Gotham City when the film drops. Get it, debaser? It's a Pixies song. I know nothing about the Pixies, so I'm not getting it. The Batman arrives in theatres, blah, 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 blah. So we've read that one. I'm going to read a Robert Pattinson interview in a minute. But this is very interesting because what Peter Skarsgård's actually saying, that the Batman is a very emotional film. That's interesting. Why is it so emotional? We know this is going to be a kind of, the greatest detective kind of film. Never really been done with a Batman film. That's one thing, Batman fans have always complained about. But this is going to be very faithful to certain Batman graphic novels. And that's exciting for die-hard Batman fans. I'm a Batman fan, but I haven't read all the comics and I don't know him so well. I know him, but I don't know him, like the diehards do. So very exciting. So he's talking about a very, very emotional Batman movie. Now, this excites me. I like my movies to be emotional. I found Man of Steel very emotional. I found Batman v Superman very emotional. And I found Wonder Woman a very emotional film. One of the reasons I love Wonder Woman is the emotion it had in it. And when you compare it to something like Captain Marvel, which really was emotionless, that was a sadness to me, saying that women can't be emotional because women are stereotyped as being emotional. It's not about gender. Some people are more emotional than others. So I like powerful emotion in my movies. But Peter hinted to something else. A group effort. We're in this together. This is the introduction of the Batman family. We are going to have Robin in this. We are going to have we might even see Batgirl in this. I don't know, but this is the introduction of the Batman family. They are doing something very, very ambitious. And Peter's description of what this film could be excites me all the more. Yes, so Robert Pattinson wants to push Batman as far as possible. Now, Robert Pattinson has been doing a lot of talking about this movie, and I think he must be the most vocal Batman actor ever. But there's some interesting points he makes here, and I want to read them out to you. The Batman star Robert Pattinson wants to take DC Comics' Dark Knight as far as he can go. Pattinson, who played the lead in Twilight, but has since been known primarily for psychologically heavy roles in smaller films. Speaking to Empire magazine, Pattinson says he hopes to bring his signature intensity to the character of Bruce Wayne, though some of that depends on the film's rating. The only thing that's more complicated is the rating. As soon as you make something an R-rated movie, you're freed up to do as much stuff, he says. In terms of the character itself, I want to push it as far as it possibly can go. And I think Matt Reeves does as well. Interesting. You can do crazy stuff with that part. About that draw, Pattinson has spoken before about what drew him to the role of Batman. I felt a connection to it. I don't know why, I just really wanted it. He goes on to say that the role has a power, everyone is attracted to it. It's an unidentifiable thing. I love the kind of history of the part. I love every iteration of how it's been played. It's very, very special part. And I think it's been very careful. It's been very carefully. I feel like everyone's really looked after the character and its history. And there's a lot of reverence for it. You can really feel it in the studio. You can't say no to it, and I really wanted to say yes. I think Matt Reeves has got a really good direction for it. I'm very kind of eager to get started on it. Filming on the Batman is now underway. The film is directed by Matt Reeves from a script he co-wrote with Mattson Tomlin. In addition to Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, the film stars Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon, Zoe Kravitz as Selina Kyle, Catwoman, Paul Dano as Edward Nashton, the Riddler, Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, and Andy Serkis as Alfred Pennyworth, and John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, James Lawson, and Peter Skarsgård as also rumoured to be cast in the film. But it's not a rumour anymore. That was confirmed. So, Robert says a lot of interesting things here. So I think we do need to have a debate. Should the Batman be an R-rated movie? Now, if we were talking about this before we saw what happened with the Joker movie, and I will finish off with the Oscar chat and all of that because I want to make another significant point to the haters and the SJWs about that. Now, if we were discussing this before Joker, I'd say there's no way this studio is going to allow a Batman movie to be R-rated because you lose box office potential. But I have to correct myself now and say, after the Joker made $1 billion at the global box office, this film can make as much money as it wants to, and being R-rated won't stop it. Now, forget the question, should it be R-rated? Will it be R-rated? I think there's a big chance. It's very interesting to me that Robert Pattinson has talked about wanting to push the character as far as possible, and that Matthew Reeves wants to do the same thing as well. I think, and this isn't official yet, we just don't know what the thinking is. I'm not saying it will be R-rated. I think there's a really, really good chance of this thing being R-rated, but we'll just have to wait and see. But what's exciting about the DC Films universe right now, we don't know what we're going to get next. I'm excited that we have a slate of films now. We know what we're going to have in the next few years, and that's exciting. We're just all waiting on tenterhooks now for this Superman movie directed by J.J. Abrams to be announced. I think that's what's happening, and that's what we're going to get. We're going to have to be a bit more patient on that. And I think that Variety article was talking about nothing to 2022, 2023. That's a long time, but as long as we get an announcement, then we can start getting excited. Who's going to play Superman? Is it Henry? Is it someone else? Something we can also discuss when it's all announced. I just think that this is very, very exciting right now because, as I say, with every DC film that comes, we don't know what we're going to get. We didn't know what we were going to get with Birds of Prey. We kind of do. Now, same thing with Wonder Woman 1984. We don't know if we're getting this Flashpoint thing or not. Really, really excited to see what the final cut is of that film. And the Batman, is it part of the DCEU? Is it not part of the DCEU? Is he a younger Batfleck? Nobody knows. Nobody can know that. And I think more information will become apparent. And that's another element that's really exciting about this movie. But I love the casting. I love the refreshing attitude by Matt Reeves and the cast and the people everyone working on this movie who's been on Twitter has just spoken about it so reverently. And that fills me as a fan, as a consumer, and I'm sure you guys and girls as well, it breeds confidence. We know what Matt Reeves can do. This is not a divisive director. This is a director that everybody likes. And you're going to see more and more of that. I love Zack Snyder. But the fact of the matter is, a movie is hampered because people are divided about Zack Snyder's way of making a film. That's sad to me because I love Snyder and I love his style. And it's a shame. It's a shame because he made two really good DC movies. And I don't understand why people don't like him. I genuinely don't. But it's one of those mysteries that not even Mulder and Scully could solve. So, yes, I'm really, really excited for the Batman. And I just love the fact that they're shooting now. All this stuff is coming out. But I think we don't even know anything about this movie yet. We pretty much know this is going to be kind of a very kind of old-fashioned detective story. But hearing Peter Skarsgård say it's going to be emotional, it's going to be about a group effort. Very, very interesting, and I can't wait. Now, before I go, I'm going to talk about the Joker's 11 Oscar nominations. I discussed this yesterday in a video, and you can check that out on my playlist. But basically, a lot of negativity has come from this. SJWs don't like the Joker movie, and I've explained this to you before. They don't like the Joker movie because it's about a man. It's about male mental health. It's not ticking off the boxes that they want to be discussed, which is about people of colour, about people from the LGBT community. They only want those discussions. Basically, if you're not from those boxes, if you're not from that walk of life, they're not interested in you. You can lay on the ground and slowly starve and die with insanity. That's the truth of the matter. I think these are very disturbed people, and they need our compassion and our help. That's all I can say about them. Even one paper said that it's basically the film hasn't got any depth to it. That's a lie. We know that. That's a lie. This is the most filled of depth and emotional film that's ever been, let alone a comic book movie. But they're not happy. Let's see if it wins those Oscars. I don't know how the decision is made by the Academy. Are they still now voting for who's going to win these awards, or have they already done that? It'll be interesting if they're swayed by the SJWs, but the nominations are there. SJWs are not happy all round there. Very few people of colour have been nominated. That's not your fault. That's not my fault. That's not Joaquin Phoenix's or Todd Phillips' fault. That's the way they've gone this time. Now, I'd like to think in a fair and decent society, they've decided to choose and nominate who they have because they believe they're the best of the best, and not because they're being racist or homophobic or sexist. I hope that. A lot of people are talking about Little Women. That's been nominated for Best Director. Maybe this week I'll do a kind of Oscar chat video and we can really go in depth with it. But I just feel that the right people have been nominated. Last year we had a lot of people of colour nominated. Some I agreed with and some I didn't. And again, it's nothing to do with the colour of their skin and their backgrounds. I thought that Black Panther had so many nominations literally because it was made by people of colour. And I think that's not how a movie should be judged. If you do a good job and, the powers that be think you deserve nominating and think you deserve rewarding for that, you should get it. But the Joker movie has been this targeted movie from the very beginning. And if it wins all 11 Oscars, or even half of that, or even if Joaquin and Todd win their awards, there's going to be an explosion on movie Twitter. But that's up to them. Me and you know that this is massive. We know how big this film's box office and critical acclaim and awards nominations and awards wins so far. Joaquin Phoenix has already won the Critics' Choice Award, Best Actor Award as well. So, this film is a success with or without Oscar wins. There's no question about that. It's been absolutely massive. And as I said yesterday, this is a big fist pump for Walter Hamada and for Todd Phillips. And the change that's happened with DC films since the car crash that was Justice League. I'm just going to finish off on Release the Snyder Cut. Not much going on right now. And while I was in the UK, I did miss Zach doing a lot of stuff, and I wasn't really reporting it properly, and I apologise for that. But of course, this is a Release the Cut supportive channel. I am totally behind the movement, but I'm also a DC fan. I'm also a film fan. There's a lot of strings to my bow. Is this year the year for the Snyder Cut? That's all I can say. Where are we? Where are we? We've done a lot of good. RT Snyder Cut have done a lot of good. We've got a lot of people behind us now. But the question is, are Warner Brothers any closer to releasing this cut? You don't know, and I don't know that question. So we keep on fighting. We keep on hashtagging. We stand not behind, but with RT Snyder Cut, with their plans and what they do on Twitter. They do a great job. They really, really do. And all we can do really is keep on fighting. So keep the fight going. Please like, share and subscribe. Please share the video. Please share the channel. We are not too far away on this channel now from 1,000 subscribers. 1,000 subscribers, 837 subscribers right now. Thank you one and all. I am someone, the only investment I put in this, and I'll be honest, is buying this laptop. I don't promote the channel. For me, the word of mouth has been fantastic. Yeah, I only get about 50 to 100 views per video, but it doesn't matter. You start small and you get bigger and bigger. And I mean, if I do get to 1,000 subscribers, it would be absolutely massive. This was a bet I had with myself. Could I have a successful YouTube channel? Now, you can't call it successful thus far, but I do cherish the videos I do, the reactions to them, people saying, I love your channel, I love what you do. And if that's just 50 people, then if I'm only ever going to have 50 people, that's great. But I would like it to get bigger. I would like a channel like this that talks honestly from the heart about the DCEU, about comic book movies, about movies, TV shows, and issues in general. I don't want YouTube to become this place with big, companies and people pushing an agenda all the time and nobody a little bit smaller not being able to come in and put their thoughts. So I'm representing myself and my opinions, but I'm also trying to represent you guys and girls as well. So please like, share and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with more DCEU Daily. See you then.